Hi, my name is Emily Wooster, and I will be talking about the Northern Hog Sucker. The Northern Hog Sucker is in the same kingdom, phylum, and subphylum as all other vertebrates, so they're in Animalia, Chordata, and Vertebrata. They are in the class Actinopterygii and the subclass Neopterygii. They are in the order Cypriniformes and the family Catostomidae, and their scientific name, which is right here, is Hypentelium nigricans. There are several ways to identify the northern hogsucker, and one of the ways to identify them is by looking at the size and shape of their body. So they have a medium-sized, slender body. They're about 8 to 15 inches in total length, and total length is just the measurement from the tip of the snout to the end of the tail. And they reach a maximum of 17 inches. They are a nice reddish brown or olive brown, and they have distinct dark bands, and they come across the top of the body over to the other side like a saddle. They have soft rays in the fins, so their fins are pretty much entirely soft as opposed to something like a sunfish that might have spines that make those fins a little bit sharper. And they have cycloid scales. They have a large square head and a concave part between the eyes, so a little dip in between the eyes right here, you can probably see that. And they have a nice forked tail. One of the main ways to identify this species is by looking at the sucker mouth parts. The mouth is at the tip of the snout and at the bottom of the head. And the lips are protrusible, which you can see really nicely right here. They're extending from the head. And the lips are also covered in these circular bumps. And they don't have any teeth in the jaws. They actually have a single row of comb-like teeth on each pharyngeal arch, which they use to crush prey items. This species is found in the southeastern, northeastern, and central U.S. in the Great Lakes and Mississippi River Basin region. And this map here shows their range in the U.S. They are found in fast-flowing water in medium to small streams, and they only survive in clean streams. They do not do well in polluted waters. And they stay near the bottom in the gravel or rocky bottom, and they use that substrate to help find prey items. And they will overturn rocks with their heads while feeding to upturn their prey items. This species feeds on the bottom, and they scrape algae from rocks. They also turn over stones to eat the dislodged matter in aquatic insects. They will also suck up ooze from the bottom for plant and animal matter, and they feed on things such as snails, clams, worms, mussels, fish eggs, and crustaceans. And they are particularly fond of creek chub eggs and eggs from the sunfish family. And again, they'll use that pharyngeal arch, those comb-like teeth on the pharyngeal arch to crush up some of those harder prey items such as snails, clams, and mussels. The northern hogsucker becomes mature at 3 years old, and that's when they start to spawn. They live solitary during the year, but then they mate in groups, and so they'll all congregate to one part of a stream, and several males will join one female in a shallow riffle. The males will then use their fins to hollow out an area, and the female will lay her eggs while the male fertilizes them, and they do this sort of dance where they'll stand on their heads with their tails out of the water. The parents do not care for the eggs, and they hatch after 10 days. The hogsucker is important within their ecosystem. They are associated with other fish such as smallmouth bass, shiner species, and long-eared sunfish, and those species will follow the sucker to feed on the small organisms that are exposed by their energetic brooding. They are also important hosts for the larvae of some mussels like the elk toe. But they're not really a big sport fish, mostly because they're hard to catch with a baited hook, and they're not as tasty as some of the other fish that you could catch, like a largemouth bass. But nonetheless, they're still a really important part of their ecosystem. And here are my references. Thank you.